Hey, Guy here. So I decided to do something a little bit different today with my podcast. And you might be watching this on YouTube, or you might be watching it on Spotify, listening to it on Spotify, iTunes, or even social media. I'm not sure. But I haven't got a script. I haven't got bullet points, nothing. I just decided to sit down and speak from the heart for a moment and share my experience with you over the last week, and wanted to discuss a little bit about finding the blessings in the struggle. If you've been following me for a while, or you might be new to this work, I'm not sure. But essentially, when people ask me what I do for a living, I always say we help reconnect people back to themselves, remember who we truly are. I don't think any time in history have we been bombarded with so much stress, pressure, information overload, and essentially the evolution of the human body, as far as I'm concerned, hasn't caught up with the demands on the 21st century, and we are slowly suffering because of it. Now, to bring that back in, one of the positives out of all that is, I think, when there's a pressure applied, as a friend said to me once when I was selling out of my company 4 years ago, no pressure, no diamond. And it's from that pressure, good things come of it. So when I go through any challenges in life, I always try to remove myself slightly and become the witness. That's what this work's about. Awareness is key, I believe, to most things in life, and developing that awareness and trying to see something through a new lens or a different perspective. And from that comes growth, and from growth comes evolution. So I'm always, one part of me is looking at what's the lesson? Where's the blessing? Where's the blessing in the struggle? And quite often we can't see that blessing until time has passed, and we can look back upon it. As a wise man once said, a memory without emotional charge is wisdom. So as we become through life's lessons, we make mistakes and we move on, but we become wiser over the years, and hopefully that's happening. Anyway, back to the story. So I wanted to share this with you because last Wednesday, it was my birthday, December the 1st, 2021 now, I don't know when you're actually going to be listening to this. And I'd freed up the entire day, myself, my wife, and my 18-month daughter, Ava. We're going to spend the day together. And we were just going to enjoy it, I think, like everyone is feeling the pressure. And it was a nice opportunity to celebrate at least one day of the year. Anyway, I woke up probably about 5:30 a.m., something like that. And I literally remember just rolling over in bed, to greet my wife, good morning. And it was my birthday. I was still excited. And the room spun. And I was like, whoa, that's not normal. What the hell's going on there? And I'd experienced a bit of vertigo. The only thing I can liken it to is when you, what was I going to say? When you get seasick, for instance, or something like that, or on a roller coaster and you get off and the room was spinning for no reason, literally from when I just rolled over. And then I remember correcting myself, and my wife didn't realize what was happening. And then she said, hey, good morning, happy birthday. And then I went to sit up and the whole room span again. And it was really bad, enough to make me like grab the bed, put one hand on the wall and just go into child's pose, thinking, what the hell is going on? I can't, and everything was spinning really badly. And then from that point, we realized, okay, something's not right here. And I waited, I was just breathing, being the witness, trying to observe, okay, slow down, don't panic, what's going on? And then I went to move again. And the next thing I know, I'm feeling nausea, real nausea. And I had to go to the toilet, basically vomit, then followed diarrhea. And I literally crawled back to the bedroom and was laying there, absolutely floored, just taken out, just like that. And then it was patiently waiting, and I was laying there, and what felt like a minute was an hour, and then two, and then I remember needing to go to the bathroom, and I just couldn't move. And I literally, to go to the toilet this time just to take a pee, I actually had to crawl on my hands and knees, and it took me what should have been a 10-second walk. It took me like 5 minutes to get there. And my wife's like, we got to take you to the hospital, and but the issue was I couldn't even compute about the thought of getting in a car was just terrifying. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting in the car at this moment in time. And she's like, do we call an ambulance? What do we do? And part of me was like, let's just pause for a minute and let's not panic and try and work backwards from what was going on. So I remember laying in bed, and I ended up basically laying in bed for, for 2 days. And it was probably like the only thing I can liken it to is like a silent meditation on steroids, because I couldn't wear headphones, I couldn't stimulate myself in any way, I couldn't speak to anyone, and it became the ultimate act of surrender, because I had to just let everything go, everything. People were wishing me happy birthday. Ava was starting to lose it because every time I vomited, she was screaming and crying and not used to obviously seeing me in this state. So I just lay there. And the irony of all this was when we started looking at it, well, I haven't got a fever. My body doesn't seem to be fighting something. What's causing vertigo? So we started becoming Google doctors for a moment. You know, I'm fortunate my wife's a naturopath, so she's used to working with cases and things and breaking things down. So we just slowly started breaking it down. And one thing kept leading to this condition. I can't even remember what the condition's called. I try not to label things too much, but what causes vertigo? And it turns out that calcium crystals deposits can break off in your ears, and they fall into the ear canal. And your ear canal should just have fluid in it, and that's obviously a part of your balancing system that sends signals to the brain. And what happens if these crystal deposits fall in there? It actually sends a false signal to the brain thinking you're moving when you're not. And the brain gets confused and causes vertigo. And of course, that creates a cascade effect. And it becomes like the worst seasickness that you ever had possible. So for 2 days, like I mentioned, though I didn't eat, I hardly drank. Every time I drank fluid, I felt sick as well. And by the sort of mid-second day, we kind of was piecing it together, and I thought it could be this. And then it dawned on me, funnily enough, luckily but unlucky, my sister actually had experienced this 3 years ago, the exact same thing, which is very coincidental. So Linda could speak to my sister, and once we started breaking it down, it was all leaning into this, and it turns out you can do some exercises using gravity and maneuvering your body and head in certain ways to actually move the crystals around this horseshoe shape within the ear canal, if you like, and it end up getting the deposits out. I'm still slightly ungrounded, and this is nearly a week later. I'm doing the exercises still every day, and it's I'm finding my feet enough to do this podcast and share this with you. But I'll never forget the moment when my sister come round, because she was going to show me the head maneuver and that. But the thought of doing this head maneuver was terrifying, because I'd already been constantly vomiting on the first day, and every time I moved, the vertigo would kick in, and the thought of actually having to move fairly quickly. So imagine yourself up in a vertical position with your legs, you're sitting on the bed, but you're upright vertical, and having to lay back quickly and then let your head hang over the bed backwards, and then have somebody actually pendulum your whole body and twist your head at a 45-degree one way and hold it there for 30 seconds with your eyes open, and then the other way to the other side for 30 seconds, eyes open. And of course, with all the vertigo going on. Now, what I didn't realize later was that if this is very common, apparently, and people end up in accident emergency thinking they've had a stroke or something often. And what they end up doing is giving you a shot to fix the nausea and fix the spinning. Then they do the maneuver. But of course, I was at home and I didn't have any of that. So the thought of actually going through this maneuver was just literally wanted to bring me to tears, because but looking back, it's very similar to a lot of life's lessons, because quite often we do everything we can to avoid the discomfort in life, and there are so many things in our life that we actually don't address that we know we should, but then only when the pain comes so great we have to then go through it to come out the other side. So the only way is out is through. And I kind of felt like this metaphor all of a sudden. I'm like, oh my God, guy, the only way is out is through. The only way is out is through. And my sister's like, you're going to get worse. It's going to feel like shit, but obviously you're going to come out of it the other end. So we did this maneuver, and of course, it was horrific. and I remember laying back on the bed, just clinging on for dear life to the bed as if I was going to fall off. And slowly but surely, it took about 4 hours to settle after that. It was brutal. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Not that I like to think I have enemies anyway, but it was pretty brutal. And from there, moving forward, I apologize. I've got a strimmer across the house the other side, so if you can hear that, that's what it is. But I want to keep the momentum going with the podcast, because this is pretty raw and real. And from there, I laid down. So finding the blessings in the struggle, the one thing that got me through that 2 days, and realizing how fragile we can be and how we take things for granted, that what I was doing in that whole time was doing my best to be the witness. So this was the practice, this was the work, this was overcoming all the pains, the difficulties and challenges, and trying to take myself one step back and be the observer of everything that was going on, and not try to get too caught up in it. It was very challenging, but what I was doing because of that, I was actually holding my awareness in my heart. And I was counting my blessings. I was visualizing all the faces and the people in my life, my family, my loved ones, my friends, and I was seeing them, and I was feeling them, and I was honoring them, and I was reflecting upon everything that I had in my life right now that truly meant something to me. I was able to absolutely let go and fully surrender of everything that was going in my life, the to-do list, the tasks, the pandemic, the things that are going in the world that I try not to get too caught up to. At this point in time, none of it really mattered. It didn't matter. What mattered was, for me, was coming back to the things that truly mattered, with the people that I loved, the memories shared, what I do with my time, what I do with my day. Material things didn't matter. You're not going to take them with you. All these external things that we buy into, that we think are going to make us happy, and we might get a short fulfillment of one time, that dissipates very quickly. I remember buying a Ducati when my last company did well, and I always wanted a red Ducati, and then I had it, and then the novelty wore off, and then eventually I ended up selling it, So it really reinforced the inward journey and what does matter, and for us not to forget that, especially coming up to Christmas at the moment. I wanted to put this into a podcast to remind us all, including myself. I've just had the greatest reminder ever. Focus on what matters. Let go of the judgments, the stresses. I know it's easier said than done, but just give someone a hug. Just say, love me. We don't have to be constantly driving and striving and pushing. If we can remove ourselves from that, it's amazing what opens up from that as well. And I always remember having Mark Cohen on the podcast, and he talked about a word I hadn't heard of before. And he said pronoia. He said, I live my life by pronoia, not paranoia, pronoia. And pronoia being that you actually think and feel the universe is out to support you in some way, and you're so proactively paranoid about it in a great way. Imagine that, all the things and events and everything we hear to actually serve the greater good of you, but quite often we can't see it. So I thought about that. And then Sunday, a few days ago, I was in this, I was still getting side effects and that. And I realized that our one-day workshop that me and Matt Omo are running, Reconnected, in Newcastle, New South Wales here in Australia, was supposed to be today, on that day, December 5th. And because the government had changed the laws again and pushed everything out 2 weeks, we had to move the Newcastle workshop till the 19th of December 2021. So, and I was like, I actually should have been at the Newcastle workshop today, which I never would have been able to get to, which I'm so desperate to get back out there and share this work with everyone that wants to listen, basically. So instantly I was like, that's a interesting perspective. Pronoia, right? So I want to leave this with you. What are you paranoid? What could you be pronoia about? What could you look at? What are the things in your life that you know you need to address? Because if there's one massive lesson out of all of this, that true wealth, I believe, is your health. Because without your health and looking after it, everything starts to break down. And if everything starts to break down, it can break down pretty quickly. So I often wonder, I'm somebody that prides themselves on their health. I mean, I've worked in the health industry for a long time. You know, I do boring really well when it when it comes to these things. But you know, it serves me well, and it allows me to get out there and do the things that I do, and create the life that I want, and also enjoy it at the same time. So I've put this out there. I just wanted this to be a reminder to us all, and actually for me to even reflect back on this on record in the future. You know, life is a gift. Life is a gift. Don't waste it. I really don't want to waste it. And I encourage you not to either. So anyway, there you go. That's my story. That's my share. I'm sure there was a few other things when pondering earlier what I was going to say. I look back and go, oh, I meant to say that. I meant to say that too. But that's okay. That's okay. So if you're listening to this and you've been a regular listener to my podcast, I just want to thank you for tuning in. And I hope the information that I put out there on a weekly basis, that does take time. It really does. You know, I've got obviously a small team that are helping me and putting it up there, but you know, it's it's something that I love dearly, and if I hope it's impacted you in some way and made maybe shifted your perspectives on life, and doing that time if you listen regular. Yeah, so be sure to go and hug a loved one after this. And if you enjoyed my podcast, of course, please share them with other people so they can hear the message too. That's always appreciated. And I'll be taking a break from the podcast. I'm going to take a month off or so. So I'll probably be back at the end of January. I got some great guests lined up and booked in for next year, which I'm excited. So I'm about to hit 200 episodes, which is amazing. And I'll probably do a best of podcast and reflect, which I've done for many years now. You know, even if you search 180 Nutrition in iTunes or YouTube, you'll see my old podcast with my old business partner, where we've had, I think, millions and millions of views on some of those episodes, which is quite insane. But you'll see the progression, the trajectory, and where I've gone in my life personally, you know. So this is like a bit of a document. Anyway, we'll be running retreats. We've got a retreat in northern New South Wales here in January, 5 nights. There's only a few spots left. And we've got a 3-night in March 2022 as well in northern New South Wales. And keep an eye out. We'll be on tour a lot more active during 2022 and running some 1-day and half-day workshops as well throughout Australia, if we can, if things keep opening up. So we'll see what happens. But all you need to do is come back to livingflow.co. And please, if you did listen to this, drop me a line. Let me know if you enjoyed it. And it's always nice to connect with people, because quite often you record these episodes, they get put out into cyberspace. And you listen, but of course it's one directional, you know what I mean? It's not like we're in a room together and we can have a conversation and talk and like that. So that's why I always sign off at the end of my podcast every week. I hope to get to meet you in person one day soon, because for me, that's what it's about. It's about bringing people together, connecting back to ourselves. That, of course, then helps connect to other people, which then helps connect to something greater within this universe that binds everything together, I feel. And if we can really deepen those connections, I think we're on a winning streak to starting to live a much more fulfilling life. Anyway, much love from me. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you soon.